And then we're down to the semifinals in NAIA football. There is a new lead man in Forest City, Iowa, and we're even going to talk about the NAIA football and why NAIA football looks so good this week, the administration and the entire sport. Good evening and welcome to College Football This Week. I'm Joey McWilliams. Glad you're along for the ride here on this Thursday night. Welcome on in. Let me invite you to let us know here in the chat if you're watching us live from where you are watching and who you're going to be cheering for. Do you have a dog in the hunt still of these final four teams that are in the NAIA Football Championship Series? We already have some folks in the chat tonight. Shout out to Edwin, and we'll get to that question right off the bat. Edwin, Leo, thank you for being here tonight, as well as everyone else who is going to be a part of the broadcast tonight. Thank you for joining. All right, Edwin, let's answer that one first. Why is the 2 seed playing the 8 seed instead of 1 versus 8? It's a really good question, and that is because it is a football championship series, and the NAIA is taking care of things financially and using its finances to the best of its ability, trying to use wisdom in that, and putting up a situation in which there's only one flight. And in this case, when you have Benedictine in Atchison, Kansas, and you have Grandview in Des Moines, Iowa, and I think that's just a little bit more than 3 hours away, maybe a little bit longer if you're in a bus. It may take just a little bit longer. I suppose that depends on who's driving the bus for that matter. But it's going to be a shorter trip there. You know someone's going to have to fly out of the Mountain Time Zone, so why not go ahead and send it all the way across the country to West Palm Beach? And so that's why it's set up in that way. It's a financial issue. It's not a true bracket. And I'll be honest, it was something that frustrated me a few years back, but you know what? I understand the wisdom in it, so I'm game. That's fine. It's all right to make those decisions, and they can, and it turns out to be a good championship series anyway. So, you know, the whole thing, it's restructured from weekend to weekend and round to round, but I think you come up with some good matches anyway. And on top of that, I can't say this for certain, but I would imagine that the NAIA would like to make sure that it's not going to be conference opponents taking on one another in the championship game as well. So there is that that's involved. So if you do this, you're going to have Benedictine and Grandview taking on one another. So only one from the Hart Conference is going to be playing in the championship match. Now, if you're Nick Rule and you are the commissioner of the Heart of America Conference, then, hey, you know for sure there's going to be at least one team from the Hart Conference playing in the championship game as well next Saturday. So that is cool. All right. Matt checking in from North Dakota, going to root for the Frontier, so he's going to be cheering for the Yotes. Well, you know what, Matt? I think that's a pretty good decision there. We'll give our picks tonight here from Midwest Sportsnet on this Thursday night. And Edwin says there's an upset coming in West Palm Beach. All right. So I think we know where a couple of the folks here are in the chat already are going to be making their picks tonight. So we also have the Bet the Barn segment tonight, and we have just a little bitty mini rant tonight as well. Let's go ahead and start really quickly with, let me see if I can pull this up here, make sure I get the notes on across. Let's start with this. There were 8 coaching vacancies in the NAIA. We've talked about those, and we've listed them. By the way, we can go back through them really quickly. Arizona Christian, Avila, Eastern Oregon, Langston, Missouri Baptist, Peru State, Southeastern, and Waldorf, each looking for a new head coach as of a couple of weeks ago. Now, that's not bad, just 8 out of 96 teams who will be competing in 2026 in the fall of 26. One of those positions has been filled. Waldorf releasing today that there is a new head coach in Forest City. It is David S. Callaway, and you might remember his name. He was a head coach most recently at Central Methodist during his time there, 31, 54, and 1 as the head coach there. Had a playoff appearance back in 2021, a 9-2 regular season, finished the year 9-3 overall. And prior to that, spent 3 years. Now, he was there from 2015 to 2021 as the head coach. Spent 3 years as the head coach at Texas A&M Kingsville Division II program down in Kingsville, Texas. 3 years there, 6-6 in 2012, made a bowl game, then 3-8 in 2013, 1-10 in 2014. So I think they were looking for a different direction there as he went on. Now, you also may remember Texas A&M Kingsville. If you think back a little bit, it used to be known as Texas A&I, and as an NAIA program, won like 7 national championships about 50 years ago, give or take a few years, right in that particular decade into the 60s. So a very, very dominant NAI program in its day. Of course, Carroll, the dominant NAI program here in the 21st century. So a new man at the helm at Waldorf, and he's taking over a program with, I believe, now 24 consecutive losses. That leads the NAI in that category. David S. Callaway, the new head coach at Waldorf. All right, let's go ahead and get on into our semifinal matchups. And let's look at the first one. Benedictine on the road at Grandview. The Hart South champion taking on the Hart North champion. This will take place in Des Moines. As of today, as of Thursday in this recording, it is a forecast of 9 degrees as the high and snow on top of that. Now, both of these teams can play in inclement weather, and we saw Grandview put up 62 points in a blizzard a couple of weeks ago. So we know that the Vikings can score. Kickoff is at noon Central Time. It's the 11th meeting between these two programs. Grandview 8-2 all time, and the Vikings have won the last 6 in the series. That includes a 27-24 victory back on September 6th. Grandview, of course, the reigning national champion, having won it in 2024, having put together now a 26-game winning streak, also won back in 2013. So these two teams, and we'll talk about their quarterbacks here really quickly because they are two of the most prolific quarterbacks in the NAIA. Jackson Waring for Grandview. Now, he's not putting up that many numbers passing the ball, but we know that he can get it done. Again, he also is the reigning National Player of the Year in the NAI, and I would imagine he is in a very good position to possibly repeat in that category. 197.8 yards per game passing. Now, that's not even in the top 40. As a matter of fact, it's number 43 in the NAI in that category. However, 57.2%. He's thrown 32 touchdown passes to just 3 interceptions. That is a 10.67 to 1 ratio. That is a phenomenal ratio in that category. And not just that, the 32 touchdowns that he's thrown, he's also rushed for 13 more as well. Now, when we talk about all 4 of these quarterbacks that are left to start their teams, he's at the top when it comes to just being a prolific scorer, being able to pass the ball, run the ball in for the score. He absolutely had such a phenomenal run through the playoffs last year. He's put his team in a good position this year. We look at Jackson Dooley, the other Jackson leading his team, the Benedictine quarterback, 234.5 yards per game passing, 19th in the NAI in that category, 56.2%, a similar completion percentage as Jackson Waring. 35 touchdowns he's thrown to just 8 interceptions, and that is 8.75 to 1 ratio. Again, an incredible ratio right there. He's carried the ball in himself 4 times for touchdown scores. So between the two, 39 and 45, 84 touchdowns they've been responsible for this year. Should be a very good game offensively. Should be a good game offensively. Now, there are a couple things you need to throw into the mix here, though. They both have incredible defenses. Grandview, second in the NAI, 12.7 points per game. That's all the Vikings are giving up. It is 1/10 of a point behind the number that Northwestern put up this year. And, of course, Grandview's been in the playoffs, so a couple more games to add to its number. Benedictine, 16.9 points per game. So these two defenses are not giving up a lot of points, and they've been able to adapt and take care of business when they need to. Now, of course, we saw what Benedictine did last week against Friends, and the Falcons came back and ran out of time. Well, actually, you have to give a lot of credit to Trey Williams and the defense for forcing that fumble inside the 10-yard line to be able to get the takeaway at the very end within the last 3 seconds of the game. However, what Benedictine did in the first half in flustering the Falcons, it was an incredible defense. And then on the other side of the ball, or you might look at what Grandview's done all year long, of course, giving up just more than 12 points per game. That's one thing, but the defense stepped up when it needed to. There were a couple of games this season in which Grandview found itself down 14 points, back-to-back games, as a matter of fact. trailing by 14 to Graceland, and then the next week trailing by 14 to Mid-America Nazarene. The defense did what it needed to later in the game, getting the ball back for the offense, Waring and that offense, Dalton Van Pelt, Isaiah Toki, and more, taking care of business when they needed to, kept on winning, kept on getting the job done, but the defense stepped up big in both those games. So we'll talk about that. But the other factor, I mentioned there were two, the other factor is, of course, the weather. Now, it's not to say that you can't play in the snow, and both these teams can play in inclement weather. However, snow with a high of 30 degrees and snow with a high of 9 degrees are two different things entirely. Now, the snow may be just a little bit more of a wet snow, with it being closer to freezing. It could be a little bit of a drier snow, and we don't know what the wind's going to be like on that as well. So will these offenses be up to putting up incredibly high points in this game? I think that's something that is big. And let's go ahead. We'll go to our comment section. Matt says we're just going to go ahead and take up a collection and move the Iowa game indoors. That'd be fun. What would be the good setting there? I'm unfamiliar with whether or not there is an indoor facility in Iowa, or are you just going to move it all the way over? You're going through a couple of states to get to Indianapolis. I'd go up north to Minnesota, not far away from Minnesota. I'll bet there would be someplace up there. I was thinking about the old Metrodome. What's the name of the facility where the Vikings play now? That could be a place to get it done. I'm sure there are some indoor facilities that are practice facilities. Wouldn't be as much fun, though, because you couldn't have the crowd there for that. But anyway, we'll get to looking into that collection. But that is the matchup. So it's the number 5 seed, Benedictine, taking on the number 1 seed, reigning national champion in Grandview. That one is a noon kickoff start right there. So looking at how all of it goes, we'll go ahead and put the pick on record right here. Looking at how all of that goes, Grandview, 26 games, consecutive wins. Benedictine, 11 consecutive wins. The last time Benedictine lost was to this Grandview team. It's just about time for a Benedictine win in this series, as the Vikings have won 6 consecutive. However, Midwest Sportsnet, we're taking Grandview in this one. We're going to go with the number 1 seed, the number 1 team in the country. You know, there's a part of me that says you're number 1 until you're not. And I'm going to go ahead and stick with that part of me right now. I think that Jackson Waring continues to be the real deal. He continues to get looks from even outside people coming in. I think there are some folks that are ready for the playoffs to be over with so they can start looking to see what Jackson Waring can do if there's a possibility for him in some capacity at the next level. And I think he could play in a number of capacities at the next level. We'll see how that all turns out. In the meantime, though, it's still Vikings in the playoffs, and we're going to pick Grandview here, Midwest Sportsnet. So that is down. All right. Matt says, let's go ahead and go right here. Matt says, University of Northern Iowa, UNI. I didn't know they had an indoor facility. Well, that's really pretty cool. Good job there. The new Viking Stadium built on the site of the Metrodome. Man. It's been a few years since the Metrodome, too, but that looks like a really cool facility. Absolutely does look like a really cool facility. I have been down here, the closest thing to where I am, though, and we don't have the cold weather that often, but the Death Star, it's AT&T Stadium, of course, where the Cowboys play, but it is the Death Star, and it's a nice place. Very nice facility there as well. But, yeah, that'd be fun to see some of these games go inside. But, of course, it's going to be outside, 9 degrees the high in Des Moines. That is the forecast. All right, we move on along. Game number 2, the other semifinal, and it will be in a warmer climate. As a matter of fact, in West Palm Beach, the forecast for Saturday, 78 degrees and a light rain. It's supposed to be raining a little bit more as it goes into the weekend. Maybe a light rain on Saturday. Kickoff set for 1 p.m. Eastern, which means 12 noon Central. Both these games are going to be kicking off at the same time. So get your monitors on your computer or wherever you watch your games ready to, 1 and 1 and 1 on the other game so we can watch these games at the same time. College of Idaho 11-1 taking on Kaiser 11-0. Now, Kaiser has been the beneficiary of moving on along. I mean, you go back to the game versus Bethel all the way back, second game of the season for Kaiser, and that was a weather cancellation, which turned really into a forfeit for Bethel. Kaiser was up 7-0 in that game when the game was called. Kaiser went ahead, got the win, so it's there. Then Kaiser gets the bye in the first round of the playoffs. And then, of course, with Marion being removed from the football championship series last week with all that went on there, we've already talked about it in a previous show, but it was in some places it went down as a forfeit. I think a few places had this down as a forfeit. Of course, on Kaiser's side, it just goes down as they advance. So with Marion moving on, it really wasn't a forfeit. It was just never played. So Kaiser advances with what is, in essence, the second bye of the football championship series. And I'm not sure that necessarily helps the Seahawks. It gives them a little bit more time to rest. It gives that duo in the backfield of Jaden Miller and Dylan Simon more opportunity to, just heal up from all the banging that they do right up the middle and the way that they're able to move the ball down the field. So I guess there's a little bit there. But, if you look at what College of Idaho has done and be able to take out not one but two conference opponents to get to this point and be able to put themselves in a position where they can get on a flight and make it down to the warm climate of West Palm Beach, Florida, they've got some momentum, and I think that's something that could be in the favor of the Yotes. We'll talk about that just a little bit here. Second meeting all time between these two programs. The first one was a victory by Kaiser, and once again, it was in the NAIA semifinal 2 years ago. Kaiser won 28-21, and mentioned it here before. I'll say it again because I recall that year Kaiser went on to win the national championship that year with a victory over Northwestern in the championship game. And Kaiser's defense just bowed up whenever it needed to. It just stepped up to the call, and it held out College of Idaho a couple of times when the Yotes got close inside the red zone, closing in on that goal line, and the defense stepped up and again held on, kept a 7-point advantage, which turned into a 7-point margin of victory. So you have two very good defenses again. Kaiser giving up only 15.8 points per game. College of Idaho just next to Kaiser in that list, giving up 16.2 points per game. The defenses have stepped up all season long. It's been very good. For College of Idaho, Caden Young, you know what? I bet against him a couple of times. Not really bet against him. I picked against him a couple of times already this season. Caden Young, 171.4 yards per game. That is 56th in the NAIA in that category. 57.6% completion percentage, though. 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, just less than 2-1, the TD to interception ratio there. And he's carried the ball in 4 times himself. But he's done what needs to be done. It's one of those things I've looked at a number of quarterbacks over the years, and Garrig Slunaker for Georgetown reminds me of the way that he just took care of business for Georgetown. I mean, the numbers weren't gaudy, but he managed the team well, led the team well, got them where they needed to be. Caden Young from that category reminds me a little bit of that and the fact that he takes care of business and gets his team where it needs to be. Shea Spencer, on the other hand, 274.8 passing yards per game. Feels like he's been in the NAIA since the first Trump administration. 8th in the NAIA in that category, nearly 275 passing yards a game. 70.2% completion. That is an incredible number as well. And right out 4-1 touchdown to interception ratio with 24 TDs thrown to just 6 interceptions. 2 rushing touchdowns for Spencer as well. He is a leader of this program. He has helped to get his team to the championship game 3 consecutive years. He wasn't on the field for all of that time as he battled injuries some along the way, but he took care of business, and he's been there for a number of these playoff games, and now trying to get Kaiser back into the championship game for a 4th consecutive year. What an incredible number that would be. These two teams can put points on the board, but I think in this game, the defense steps up here. And which team's defense is going to step up even that much more? Kaiser has an incredible home field advantage. 42-4 all time when they're playing at home. 29 consecutive wins playing in the state of Florida. I'm not going to pick against Caden Young again, at least not this weekend. We are officially going on record as saying College of Idaho comes down and picks up, as Edwin says, picks up the upset in West Palm Beach. So Kaiser getting the upset there. We've got some bugs here in the studio tonight. Sorry, flying around here. One of those Japanese beetles that looks like a ladybug keeps showing up on some of the equipment as well. Anyway, so we're officially picking College of Idaho in this one. Hate to pick against Kaiser, Michael. If you're watching this one, I hate to pick against your Seahawks in this one, but we're going to do it here. Kaiser falling to College of Idaho, and the Yotes couldn't get it done in 2023. We think the Yotes get it done here in 2025, and they're going to move on to the championship game. So those are our picks there. We're already on record. Wow. Early in the broadcast, and we're already on record. So there we go. What do you all think? Let us know in the comment section who your picks are. We haven't gotten to the Bet the Barn segment yet. We do have two more Bet the Barn picks to look at a little bit later on. Let's bring in then and talk about, to bring in this. Did I get that in there? Thought I got it in there. Yeah, we're going to bring in our All-American teams. The AFCA posted All-American teams for the NAIA, and we have those right there. Let's take a look at this really quickly. First and second team we do have down. I know there's some names that are out there on even the other list on the third team. Lots and lots of names out there. Sorry, the computer is processing this. You have to process. While we're doing that, all right, Leo says picking the upset in both games. All right, Leo's picking Benedictine. Well, of course you're picking Benedictine. Sorry. What was I thinking there? Picking Benedictine and picking College of Idaho in that one. Edwin says, hey, leaving tomorrow for West Palm Beach, cheering on the Yotes. All right. Picks, Edwin. Send pics. Joey at MidwestSports.net. Matt is picking Grandview and College of Idaho. No one picking Kaiser so far. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, let's see if we can bring this up here. All right, first team offense in the NAIA, and you're looking at Jackson Waring, first team offense there. Grandview, Iowa, grad student from Ankeny. Tay Saunders on that list. Destin Loring, had to have Destin Loring in the first team. He definitely, that was an easy pick right there. Drew Sellen and Levi Torgerson, also incredibly easy picks there. First team wide receivers. Carson Ochoa, first team tight end from Carroll. And College of Idaho, Ashton Patterson, offensive lineman. He was the offensive lineman of the year in the Frontier Conference West. Kyrie Watkins on that offensive line. Yeah, look at some of these players too. Watkins from Friends, and McDonald from Taylor, also a predominantly running game there. Looking at the defense, let's move on over to the defense here. And first team defense, looking at some of those names really quickly. Zach Myers from Evangel, no surprise there from Lee Summit. Tyler Logo, first team defensive lineman from Kaiser. I don't think that should be a surprise to absolutely anyone. Thomas Ibrahim from Southeastern, we talked about him over the course of the season a number of times. Cannon Johnson from Cumberland, he's up there, as well as Isaiah Haston from Benedictine. So another Raven there in that first team. And we move on over first team specialists in the NAIA this season. And Ethan Cutler, the punter from Eastern Oregon. I mention that because Eastern Oregon, they lost some tough games. Lost their head coach, as a matter of fact, at the end of this season as well. But wow. He helped put his team in good position. The defense did its job, just couldn't put offense on the board as the season went on. How about Joe Smythe from Southwestern? All-purpose player. He did everything, scored points for the special teams, the offense, all that. He did an incredible job for his team. Second team NAIA offense, and Cavante Baker, the quarterback here, second team NAIA All-American. And I want to stop there for just a moment. I'm really glad to see that. I was concerned as someone who just has been cheering on Baker all year long, didn't know if this was going to be something that was recognized, because clearly, as someone who leads this option offense, the numbers aren't going to be there. The passing numbers aren't going to be there. It's just not going to be something that you're going to see. And yet, he made his presence known. He led his team to a 12-1 record. You know, they come up just short against Benedictine in that quarterfinal game. Could easily have found themselves in the semifinals. Ravens did a fantastic job against him in the defense, but Cavante Baker clearly worthy of a second-team nod, NAI All-American. Jaleel Brown from McPherson. Keegan LaBelle, who was a winner in his final game for the Marion Knights. Eli Norse, a second-team NAI All-American. Isaac Smith as well, and then some more offensive linemen. Look through there and see some big names there as well. Second-team defense in the NAI All-Americans this year. Jackson Filer from Grandview, you see him right up there as well. And John Argo, also two players on that NAIA second-team All-American list that are going to be playing tomorrow for Grandview. Deshaun Swafford, also going to be playing, I say tomorrow, on Saturday for Grandview, and now Swafford for College of Idaho. So a shout-out to all of those players. And then second-team specialists, can't forget them. Look through that name right there. Stephen Linen, place kicker for Dort. And Carl Bew, he made some noise over the course of the year for the Fighting Saints of St. Francis. So a big season for him as well. We didn't have the third team on the list, but you can check that out as well. But these are some big names that are through there. By the way, just a couple of people to mention. Jackson Dooley, third-team All-American. Zach Chevalier, third-team All-American. Michael Palandri, third-team All-American. Arjun Lothe and Luke Giron for OUAZ. Lothe from Indiana Wesleyan. 5 quarterbacks listed as third-team NAIA All-American. No honorable mention this year. They just went ahead with the third-team list, and, of course, that's a pretty lengthy list there, but some names that definitely would recognize if you look through there. All right, let's go ahead and bring that down. Bring this one back up. Kept Matt's pick up there the whole time. Sorry about that, Matt. Did you follow any of Division I football this weekend? I realize, you know, we've enjoyed watching small college football here on the channel, and it is really, I said at the start of the year in our top 10 reasons why we're looking forward to NAIA football getting started, because it really is, it could be the last area where we get to see college football in its purest form. And we're watching it right now. If you're not watching, you know, Division II football and NAIA football and some of these, you know, you're really missing out. That's not to say that there's not a good product at the Division I level. It absolutely is a good product. It's an incredible product. But to see college football in its purest form, watch what goes on this weekend in West Palm Beach. Watch what goes on this weekend in Des Moines. And by the way, Tool Envy, not looking forward to that 9 degrees and snow this weekend in Des Moines. Well, I wish you the best. And again, pictures, Joey at MidwestSports.net. So you need to send some pictures this way so we can post them on Sunday. Back to Division I and the NAI. And, you know, I realize there aren't a lot of places where there are comparisons. I'm going to make one, though. Mini rant right now. And I've said this before. I said it a few weeks ago. I will say it again. Midwest Sports Net as a broadcast channel is an independent channel, and we enjoy talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. You've probably heard me say that so many times on our summit interviews and when we talk about things like that. And I say that because we do enjoy it, and we're not beholden to or shills for any kind of national organization. There's no 4-letter organization that we are paid by, employed by, or anything like that. Now, that's not to say, you know, if someone dropped an 8-figure number, that I wouldn't consider that offer. Might consider a 7-figure number. So anyway, but at the moment we're not. We're independent, so we're not looking for anything we're not shills for anyone, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So when I say that, and I tell you that the NAIA got it right again, I am telling you this from an independent standpoint. The NAIA flat out got it right again. Look at all the chaos from the Division One, the CFP, the selection committee, and all the chaos that went after that. And and rightfully so in some senses. And you've got teams that have pretty much decided they're going to take their ball and go home. Fan base for Notre Dame right now looks horrible. Absolutely looks horrible. And you know what? They haven't been led very well because leadership at Notre Dame right now looks pretty upset too. Notre Dame doesn't have any argument when it comes down to whether or not Notre Dame should be in over Miami. Period. Head to head, Notre Dame lost. Was it early in the year? Yes. Did it happen this year? Yes. Did you lose? Yes. There's not an argument there. Made quite a run. Won 10 straight games. Not the most historic 10-game run in all of college football history, but you won 10 games. Good for you. You still lost to Miami, and you have a 10-2 record. Take Alabama for a moment. Why is Alabama in the college football playoff? It's very, very easy. They're in the SEC. That's why they're in the college football playoff. They had -3 yards in a championship game less than a week ago. But they're in the championship series, the college football playoff. They're in the bracket. Not even the number 10 spot or 11 spot or 12 spot. They're at number 9. Do you know why they're at number 9? Because they were at number 9 the week before, and they didn't move at all. This committee, this selection committee, this group of individuals that had an agenda carried out their agenda. Alabama fans should be happy. They're in. Notre Dame fans, with all that I said just then, that they don't have any reason to gripe, there's one possible reason they might have to gripe, and that's this. They did get the rug pulled out from under them. For 5 consecutive weeks, this committee, with their wonderful show week in and week out, said that Notre Dame was ahead of Miami. Notre Dame's ahead of Miami. Notre Dame's ahead of Miami. Notre Dame's ahead of Miami. Notre Dame is ahead of Miami until it came time for the bracket itself, and then Miami was ahead of Notre Dame. I can understand them being upset about that, but honestly, they should have known. They should have seen it coming. It was going to happen. There was an agenda involved. Now, why did I bring out Division I when we normally talk about small college sports here? Because I want to bring out the comparison. How much better was the selection this year in the NAIA? I want to go back to even this summer. I want to go back to the spring. The National Administrative Council made changes in the criteria as to how the football playoff field of 20 teams would be put together, and there were some changes made. I've said here on the channel a number of times, one of the best changes of all was the fact that they got rid of the coaches' rankings as being one of the criteria. With that criterion gone, I would even go on to say best decision ever. They got rid of that. It didn't need to be in there. It was wrong on a number of levels, and they got rid of it. And on top of that, they made a great decision. The field of 20, solid field of 20. The seeding as it was, and I know seeds are what they are in this championship series because it's going to change from week to week. But the first 2 weekends, you had the top seed, the higher seed, the team that was probably expected win all of those games. Made great decisions. Now, was there an argument for Georgetown to be in the field of 20? Absolutely, there was an argument for that. Was there an argument for OUAZ to be in the field of 20? Absolutely, there was an argument for that. But not so much as the fact that the field of 20 that was there didn't earn every bit to be there. All 20 teams that made it. 13 of them by winning their conference or division. 7 more at-large teams were chosen very well. And I have absolutely nothing but good things to say about the selection committee and the way it was handled. And then all the teams that were a part of it, whether they made it or not, handled themselves well. It's been done well. It's been a good football championship series. And the difference between this And what you're seeing on the Division I level is astronomical. And if you're an NAIA football fan, you have a lot to be proud of. And I hope you are enjoying this football championship series because it's been fun and it has been football in its purest form. So keep on enjoying it. There we go. And Matt says, I'd even argue there's an argument to be made for Dakota State. I made that argument too. There's an argument to be made for Dakota State to be in too. And yet the field of 20 has been an incredible field. Dave, catching up late. All right, Dave, go Yotes and Ravens. Wow, Dave. So I have to ask, Dave, if you're catching up late, are those your picks? We've been unofficially picking. Well, I'm going on record, but we've been unofficially picking in the chat tonight. So are those your picks? Just let us know, and we will move on along into our Bet the Barn segment tonight. Several at large. I'm not sure where you're headed with that one, Leo. I think the several at-large teams were done well. I really do. I think they were put together well. There were several out there probably that have an argument. Dakota State's one of them. OUAZ's one of them. Georgetown's one of them. But I don't think you can say enough about what this selection committee did and how it was put together well, and football in its purest form. Can I trademark that? Can I go ahead and put that down? Let's trademark that here on College Football This Week. NAIA football in its purest form. All right, Dave, are those your picks? That's all right. Let's go to the Bet the Barn segment. We need to go to the Bet the Barn segment tonight, and we're going to see more of Doug here on the channel in the future. Excuse me. And we may even see him a little bit later on tonight. Let's do a programming note really quickly before we get to that. And that is next week. So coming up on Sunday, we'll have our regular Sunday night show. And then Thursday, we will talk about the championship matchup, and we'll talk about any more news. College football this week will continue. We're going to go year-round on college football this week. We're going to have football to talk about all year long. And so that doesn't mean that we are not going to be covering other sports on Midwest Sportsnet. We absolutely are. There is a lot more coverage in 2026 ahead, but we're going to go ahead and continue with the live streams because you know what? You guys are awesome. This is the best community on YouTube, no doubt about it. And it's you guys are a lot of fun to talk to. So we're going to keep talking college football all year long, year round on here, and we'll have some other things here on the channel that we'll talk about our other sports as well. All right, in the comments really quickly, Yotes, yeah, and would love to see the Ravens win, but you're going to take Grandview. Those were my picks, Dave. And the reason I ask is because no one is picking Kaiser yet. Now, Kaiser already has, by the way, a hype video, so that's already out there, but I'm curious about this one. Very, very curious about this one. All right. I am, let's see. Trying to find my graphics here. Let's go. All right. Bet the Barn. Bet the Barn. There's our barn. I was out looking at the barn today. So our fictitious barn is based on a real barn. But what side of these numbers would you bet your barn on? All right. Two of them tonight. Let's go with the first game. Benedictine at Grandview. First game tonight that we're going to see a number. We're going to go with a prop bet as a totals bet tonight. Okay, this one is a totals bet. These two teams have met a number of times in the last 10 years. It's been, I think you have to go back 10 or 11 years. Anyway, Grandview's gotten the better the last 6 times. In those last 5 games, there have been about 60 points on the board. Now, you're talking about 2 very tough defenses. Okay? You're talking about the number 2 defense in all of the NAIA giving up just 12.7 points per game in the Vikings, and they're playing at home, and they're literally playing on their home field. They're not playing across town in Des Moines. They're playing there at the Duke, so this one's going to be at home on their home field, where I'm sure that they like to just dig in those cleats and they'll be able to bow up and play defense well. Benedictine hasn't slowed down that much. As a matter of fact, Benedictine put up 24 points against a very solid Friends defense. It's going to look a little bit different for Grandview. 2 NAIA second-team All-Americans we know on that defense in Jackson Filer and John Argo. Big names in the program. Our number is, though, over-under. Here's the over-under. We're putting a higher number on here. Even with the temperature, even with these being 2 defenses, we're going to put the over-under at 61.5. 61.5. These 2 offenses are pretty strong. Wouldn't be surprised to see either quarterback run, but especially Jackson Waring. Would not be surprised to see Jackson Waring just tuck the ball and run. And if he gets an opening, he turns a corner, he's going to be gone from 15 yards or 55 yards. So over under on this one. Everyone in tonight. See a number of you watching us live. Don't be afraid to pick. Don't be afraid to play along. Over under 61.5. I know this might seem like a little bit higher number tonight, but let's see. Tool Envy checking in. Tool Envy says, nope, the weather is going to be too big a factor in this one. Tool Envy taking the under. Valid point. It's a valid point. Anyone else want to pick in this one? Under. The last game between Benedictine and Grandview, and Leo says each team was in the 20s. You're right, Leo. It was 27-24. That was 51. So you're going to take the under. Got it. All right. Matt taking the under. Edwin taking the under. Dave taking the under. Says it's a good one, though. All right. Listen, guys, I decided not to make it too low. When I make it too low on these, everyone takes the over, and I feel really bad about that. Although I will say, I did put a number high one time, and one of the defensive coordinators talked to me afterwards and said, hey, you made that number too high. Do you not believe in our defense? So anyway, I'm telling you up front, I believe in both these defenses, but we're putting the number at 61.5. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and pick. I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I'm taking the under on this one too, but I think it could be close. I think it could be closer to 61.5 than 51. That's what I'm taking there. I think the number will be closer to 61.5 than 51, and that was the total last time these 2 teams met. So we'll see. I still am going to take the under on that one. Everyone's taking the under. Okay. Let's see. Then there's one more then. Maybe this one will get play on both sides. All right. Kaiser hosting College of Idaho. Kaiser, lifetime for the program. Lifetime for the program is 60-0 when scoring at least 30 points. So we'll make it easy here. Everyone, and by the way, everyone's picking College of Idaho in this one. So here's your prop bet. Over under on Kaiser alone. Okay, not the totals, just on Kaiser alone. Over under on Kaiser alone. Do the Seahawks score at least 30? Kaiser is 60-0 all time when scoring at least 30 points. Can the Yotes hold them under 30 points at home? 78 degrees at kickoff. Light rain, maybe ahead. Shea Spencer at home. One more opportunity to wow that Seahawks crowd. Am I pushing too hard to get the over on this one? I don't know. Tool Envy. All right. You guys are chiming in on this one. Tool Envy. Under. The Yotes are for real. All right. Fair enough. Michael Brooks, if you're watching this one, you need to chime in. I think your Seahawks may get left behind in this one. Anyone else, guys? Some of you may be behind, just catching up. Dave. All right. Dave says, and Dave has had a chance to see the Yotes play. Dave says if they score 30 on that defense, they win. He's taking the under. All right. Taking the under. All right. First time someone's done something different. Matt, taking the over. All right. Leo, who picked the Yotes, says he's taking the over. Now, by the way, Kaiser could still win and have less than 30 points. But this one is specifically just about the point total. We're not picking winners and losers on this. We don't do the lines here as, a -7 or, someone's giving up those points. We're not doing that. All right. Anyone else want this one? All right. I'm going to split the difference here then, guys. We have 2 and 2, and I'm going to go ahead and split the difference. I think Kaiser's streak stays intact. I think Kaiser will continue to be undefeated when scoring at least 30 points. I don't think they're going to score 30 points. I think that they get held under in this one, and I think the Yotes defense steps up big time here. And again, I'm not picking against Caden Young, at least not this week. I was going to say not this year anymore. I'm not picking against Caden Young this week, and he's not going to be out on the field when his defense is out there. I think the defense steps up. All right, so that's where we are. That is where we are. Officially, we're on record as saying Grandview and College of Idaho move on. They advance to the championship game. So that's what's going to happen. Oh, I didn't get that last programming note. Let me get one more programming note in here really, really quickly. And let's talk about Saturday, December 30th. Now, or December 20th, excuse me. First off, Sunday night show back at 8 o'clock. We'll talk about these two games and maybe a little bit more. Next week, 1 week from tonight, Thursday night, we're going to talk about the championship matchup and whatever else is in the news at that point to go over. So keep that in mind. Saturday, December 20th, I'll be down in Fort Worth or the Fort Worth area. It's actually just a little bit south of Fort Worth proper. It's Crowley ISD. Probably will stay the night in Fort Worth, but if I have to, I'll get up Saturday morning and drive here from the studio and make my way down for that. The live show is set to go at 9 a.m. Central Time. So we're looking to go live from Crowley ISD at 9 a.m. Central. I think Doug may be in with me for that. And who knows, we may have some other guests, and I think that is definitely going to be the case. We're going to have some other guests on the live show as well. So keep that in mind. Probably a 30 to 45-minute live show. And then there are going to be some other folks down there who are going to be broadcasting live as well. And I'll have an opportunity to sit in with some other channels, and we're going to talk more NAIA football. And then, of course, kickoff is noon Central Time from Crowley ISD, the championship game on Saturday, December 20th. We're going to have a lot to talk about for those who are members. We're going to have some behind-the-scenes footage as well. If you're a member of the channel, be looking for that. We'll be sure and send you some behind-the-scenes video. We have a lot planned for that day, and we're looking forward to just a really, really good day and a good weekend. So it should be a lot of fun. I haven't looked at the forecast, and that is 9 days from now. It's not that far away. I'm hoping just for a beautiful day. And the fact that it's going to be in north central Texas, I mean, the weather should be pretty good. You might get a little bit of rain, but I can't imagine it being really, really bad weather. Usually about this time of year in this part of the country, you're talking about a high of 50, maybe 60, but you're generally not talking about those, really, really ridiculous temperatures that Dave and Matt and some of you guys are used to up there in that part of the country. I mean, it's unlikely to get below the 20s that close to Christmas, and should be just a pleasant day. We'll see how it all works out, though. But anyway, be sure to tune in on that Saturday morning. So December 20th, our live show will be from Crowley ISD inside the stadium or outside the stadium at 9 a.m. Central Time. All right. Is there anything else? Did I miss anything else? I don't think I did. Bet the barn. The hay is now in the barn, guys. We've made our picks. So we'll see how this all plays out. Be sure to get those monitors set up side by side on Saturday because both games are kicking off at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central Time. And so hopefully we'll all get to watch both of them on that day and not a lot of other things to distract us. Hopefully it's just a fantastic day for everyone. All right, Matt, well, stay warm, everyone. Should be a good one. For those of you who are going to be watching the one in Des Moines, I realize, Edwin, enjoy the trip down to West Palm Beach. Have a lot of fun. Tulin B, man, stay warm there. Absolutely warm. And for any of you all that go, pictures, and send them to Joey at MidwestSports.net. We want to talk about it on Sunday. God bless you all. Man, it's always a privilege to get to visit with you all. I mean that. It sounds like it's just something that I repeat every single week, because it is, but that's only because I mean it. So you guys are great. God bless you all from Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet as well. God bless you all. You guys have a great weekend. We will talk on Sunday.